award-winning journalist who spent 16 years at the Tribune as a nationally syndicated DVD columnist, music reviewer, and digital innovator. He's created and shepherded half a dozen podcasts in finance and entertainment since 2017. As managing editor at the Bank Administration Institute, he co-created the BAI Banking Strategies podcast, where he hosted, engineered, mixed, and composed and performed 4 rotating podcast themes. It went on to 125,000 listens during his run at BAI, and several months after leaving, he created the podcast Bankadelic in March 2020. Lou Carlozo. Next up, Chris Lanuti. After nearly a decade in terrestrial radio, most of which as a morning show host, Chris Lanuti stepped away from the business in 2003, and a few years after that, he started podcasting as a hobby. 10 years later, he went full-time with his own podcasting company, The Broadcast Basement. His podcasts focus on local areas and targeted audience in order to sell commercial ad time in a more traditional sense. Along with podcast production and consulting, Chris hosts, dear God, 6 shows per week. I'm winded just reading that. His cornerstone podcasts are the highly downloaded Socks in the Basement podcast, along with hyperlocal shows, the EP podcast and Southside Pod. Please welcome Chris Lanuti. It's like we're signing a historic peace accord here on stage. All right.
Is that Italian?
Yes.
Oh, Paisan.
Yeah.
Southside.
Right. Leave it to the Italians to figure out how to make money doing this.
So, making money from podcasting, monetization. First question, can it be done? Lou Carlozo.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I just want to preface by saying that every single day I'm doing this, I am gobsmacked by how much I do not know about the subjects of how to make money, how to popularize a podcast, how to promote it on social media. But I think that there are 2 important things that I bring to this and why I've been able to make money is, number 1, I have learned from people who are way smarter and more experienced than me. And the second thing in terms of that is just sort of this principle of networking, right? I already have people in my circle that I know how to do this. And so by asking them a lot of questions and getting the answers to riddles such as sponsorship or how to seek out non-traditional sources of revenue from podcasting, I've been able to put a lot into action, and the advantage of that is that it's road tested. I'm a very much a trial and error person, but too often when I do that, it's error, not trial. So by getting tips on things that are road tested and then incorporating them into my own modus operandi, it's been way more successful than I could have imagined. There are no secrets. I'll tell you anything I know, but it's always that conundrum that, like, if I tell you what I know, it's like, okay, now go out and do it. And it's effort. You got to pound the pavement, and you've got to do a lot of things that are not nearly as much fun as going shopping or whatever it is you do. So, yes, that is the long answer. It can absolutely be done. I'm proof.
Chris Lanuti, can it be done?
Yeah, you can make money podcasting. Excuse me. I had all that time, and then I still had something in my throat. I approach this differently, I think, than most podcasters will probably approach it after being in radio for 10 years. And I loved broadcasting. I just didn't like having a boss. Like, I was just sick of a program director telling me what I could and couldn't do. I hated the fact that every couple of years I was moving, and I was like, I'm done with radio. This is stupid. I'm sick of somebody telling me what's good and what isn't good.
And again, for those people here, radio is something that people used to listen to in their
long
cars
time
and
ago.
homes.
Now all my radio friends are like, how do you do what you do? Because I want to do it too. So I mean, what's great is that I looked at it as starting a small business. I knew that there were certain things that I wanted to talk about, but the intention from the very get-go after I decided to make it more than a hobby was to create shows that I could sell. And the thing is that you can still be very creative and put things into a space that makes it sellable. And that's why I have shows that are specific to certain areas, so I can have local advertisers and I can tell them, look, this whole show is about this area. Or with Socks in the Basement, I get advertisers who can't afford White Sox prices but still want White Sox fans. And since I love the White Sox, I did it. I don't do a Bears show because I don't know enough about football, even though I like watching them on Sundays. But I found things I was passionate about and then also put them through the filter of, can I make money off this as well? Is there a group of advertisers out there, if I can get an audience, that will pay me for it?
That's so smart.
Well, that is very smart. I think you said something that is really important. You're selling the audience, not the content.
Yes.
You're selling access to those listeners and those demographics and interests. That's a really key consideration.
It's the one thing I never understood when I was a radio guy, because I hated salespeople and I thought they were annoying. And
they are.
Then, yeah, they're just terrible, and they all want to be on the radio, so they're always giving you advice, and they're obnoxious. I never was a salesperson, and that might be one of the other reasons why I'm able to sell, is because when I sit down and talk to somebody, I'm really honest. I'll tell them the warts, I'll tell them the good, the bad, but I also knew that if this was going to work, I had to create a product that was sellable.
And you're yourself. I mean, I can tell just in the couple of minutes that we've talked and got to know each other that you are also selling yourself, which is the most authentic thing a person can do. Quick show of hands, how many people in this room are relentlessly themselves? Okay, good, that's most of you. Now the rhetorical question that I'm not going to ask for a show of hands is how many people are confident in their relentless self. So I see one person, you don't have to raise your hands, but I see a couple of hands going up. I think that part of the beginning of knowing how to make money on a podcast is knowing what your unique value proposition is. Right, that's a biz school term, but that comes back to who you are and what you have to offer, because when you are relentlessly yourself, like Chris just shared, you approach selling differently. It's not a hard sell. It's like, this is what I have to offer you, this can help you. And in my case, I'm in, of all things, the freaking financial services industry, banking. Look at me, I look like Doc Brown from Back to the Future, right? Money! No, so it's like, but I'm different. I'm not for everybody. And the people who sponsor my podcast, and I've got 4 right now and 2 waiting in the wings, they understand that. And guess what? Because I'm different, they are not signing on to the static room, right? Where there's 15 banking podcasts, and they're all the same, and they all sound the same, and they're all very formal, and nobody sticks out. Just very quickly before the next question, I'm going to recommend a couple of books worth reading, and one of them is a book called Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mawborn. They were business students, and one was a student, one was a teacher at Michigan's Ross School of Business, and they have identified this fantastic theory, right? If you walk out and there's 20 pizza places in your neighborhood, guess what? That's a red ocean. Swim with the sharks. Don't get hurt, right? Be relentless. But what if you are the place that is not just a pizza place, but you are serving the most outlandish toppings in the world, and you've invented a couple of